But what about the fact that women want to work? I mean, they should have the right, don't you think? Most women want to have a career.
Well, I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that for a second. You're telling me what you've been told and what you've been told to believe, not what you actually believe and not what's actually the case. No, I don't believe for a second that most women want to work and most women want to have a career. That's PR. That's propaganda. I mean, you can't say honestly that you think that most women want to work and also say that women have equal intelligence as men, because if they have equal intelligence as men, what intelligent person would choose to work if they had a choice not to? I know a man wouldn't, if given the choice. No, I know that most women don't want to work. I don't need to see the statistics. I know that most women don't want to work because I work. So I know what it's like. No, you can only convince a woman or anyone else that it's wonderful, it's just so fulfilling to dress up in business clothes and go to an office all day if they've never worked. You can maybe sell that message to young, inexperienced people, but anyone who has been in the workforce for any length of time will tell you it is not exactly living the dream. But you know who is living the dream? You know who really is living the dream? Married women in Dubai, married women in Saudi Arabia. And not just because they get to go on shopping sprees with their husbands', gold credit cards, but because due to the fact that they have so much support from their family, so much support from their husbands, so much support from their fathers, so much support from what you would call patriarchy. You probably didn't know that women in the UAE and women in Saudi Arabia own a higher percentage of small and medium-sized businesses than women in America, by at least 10%. That's ownership. That's entrepreneurship, not employeeship. But of course, they're oppressed, right? No, most people don't want to work. Now, obviously, there are exceptions. And there are people who can, genuinely derive a lot of satisfaction from their work. But we all know that they could find infinite other ways to achieve that and better than that level of satisfaction if they weren't wage slaves and had control of their time. Should women have the right to work? You understand what incredibly deceptive language that is? In your society, do they have the right not to work? That's a better question. I mean, look at how they manipulate language around this issue. Instead of just saying you have to work, they say that you have a career or you have a job, as if it's something that you gained, as if it's something, something that you have, rather than talking about all the things that you lose by having that, all of the things that you have to let go in order to keep hold of that job. They say you have a career, but what they mean is your employer has you. And that's where you spend most of your time. That's where you spend, most of your waking hours, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, plus however long it takes you to commute. So maybe up to around half of a 24-hour day. You're either going to work, at work, or coming home from work. And then you get, if you're lucky, maybe 4 to 5 hours a day off, 4 to 5 hours a day left of free time. Look at that phrase, free time. Because, yes, in your free, democratic, liberated, independent country, most citizens only get about 4 to 5 hours a day of freedom. Because the rest of the time, you're at work. And work is extremely not democratic, not free, and you have no independence. You do what you're told, you wear what you're told, you eat when they let you. Your time is not your own. In some places you even have to ask permission to use the restroom. So most of your waking hours are actually spent in a thoroughly totalitarian environment, in the land of the free and the home of the brave. And you get maybe 4 to 5 hours a day of freedom. And you're telling me that women want that? No. The system wants that for women. And it has made it largely unavoidable because the cost of living is too high. Or anyway, the cost of supporting the lifestyle and maintaining the lifestyle that your society teaches you that you must have if you are to be regarded as a worthwhile and successful human being. They made it necessary for women to work. And human beings have a great capacity to convince themselves that they are actually in favor of things that have been imposed upon them. So they tell themselves that they actually want the thing that they have no choice but to accept. Then, of course, on top of that, you have all this propaganda about how wonderful and how fulfilling it is to sell your time and your labor to an employer, to rent yourself out to your employer. And you have people, excuse me, but like yourself, spreading the propaganda. It's no different, really, from, how you have women in human trafficking networks, women who procure women for the traffickers. It's basically the same thing. It's just different in the severity of the consequences. But both types of people are lying and making false promises about the servitude and drudgery that they are actually dragging women into on the basis of promises of how wonderful it's going to be and how much they deserve all of the great things that are going to come to you if you listen to me and do what I said. When actually you're just going to become a wage slave. Just like in a human trafficking thing, you're going to become an actual slave. And it's really interesting to me because I just saw a video by a Muslim sister where she was comparing, the ticket sales for the Barbie movie with the ticket sales for the Oppenheimer movie, and what that indicates. It's not so much a story as a cinematic representation of a brain scan of a radical feminist, the delusional way that they see the world. Whereas Oppenheimer is about a physicist, the splitting of the atom and the creation of the atom bomb. Women aren't going to see that one. The sales for Barbie are eclipsing the sales for Oppenheimer. So that means women aren't going to see Oppenheimer, but women are going to see Barbie. Men aren't going to see Barbie. So women would rather watch a movie, spend money to watch a movie, telling them that they can be and do anything. They're more interested in being told how much they can achieve than they are interested in achieving it. You can't even get them to watch a movie about physics. How are you going to get them to study it? They'd rather watch Barbie. Obviously, that's a huge generalization. What it shows is the appeal of the propaganda. The appeal of the propaganda has far more appeal than what the propaganda is promising. The propaganda is promising that you can do and be anything. But women aren't as much interested in doing and being anything as they are interested in being told that they can. And that's not really saying anything. It's the same for everybody. I mean, if you could actually remove from the workforce everyone who does not genuinely find fulfillment and satisfaction from their job, you would have extremely few workers left of either sex. Men find fulfillment, usually not from the work itself. Most of the time, it's not from the work itself, but it's from the fact that they are successfully providing for their families. So they sell their souls to the company store, as the old song says, for the sake of their loved ones. And they find some level of gratification from that, and it gives them a sense of purpose, even doing the most, mundane, difficult, and tedious work. And there's honor in that, because it involves a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice that you do for your family. But no, most women don't want to work, because of course they don't. Most people don't want to work. So, I mean, think it through. There are exceptions, but exceptions notwithstanding, most people don't want to work, but you have to be propagandized into it. This is propaganda. It's just like when Edward Bernays, the father of modern PR, got women to start smoking cigarettes for his customer, for his client, by connecting the smoking of cigarettes with women's lib. Just as that was unhealthy for women, this is unhealthy for women. Just as that was for the sake of someone else's profits, so is this. It's just propaganda. Look, women have always worked, including Muslim women. They either did it because of necessity or they did it because they wanted to. And that's fine. But they never did it because they were fed constant propaganda that they must work in order to be whole and fulfilled human beings. They never worked because work was deceitfully portrayed as how you advance some noble cause of gender equality. They never worked because the society told them that if they didn't, they were useless. And they're not being told that. That propaganda isn't being spread by anyone except by the profiteers of their labor. So of course they will tell them that. They want the market to have vastly more workers than there are jobs, obviously. That diminishes workers' leverage and increases employers' leverage. It's probably the only reason that they're trying to adultify children now. These days how they're sort of wanting to lower the age of consent and so on, so that they can eventually get rid of child labor laws. I mean, they want to push retirement age back as far as possible. So they probably want to eventually lower the legal working age as well at some point. I mean, look at Joe Biden. The man should be in a care home. But they want as many people in the workforce as possible for as long as possible. But don't at least tell yourself that this is good for you and you want it, just because it's what business wants for you. When women go to the workplace, they're not breaking down barriers. They are erecting barriers around themselves. And men know that because we've been in those barriers all our lives. We know what it's like to be in the workplace. We know that all of this propaganda is propaganda. It's not a wonderful thing to go out into the workforce. Women the domestic life of women traditionally has been a socialist utopia. Why would you leave that? Most people don't want to work. That's a fact.